Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the story. Leftists across social media have been sharing videos to millions of views, arguing that Donald Trump has been sending jets full of illegal immigrants over the ocean and dropping them out of the plane. In fact, I've got, 5 or 6 different videos, some of them getting a lot of traction on TikTok, where they're connecting several stories. They are falsely conflating a story about ICE not going to South Sudan, leaving individuals in Djibouti. They're conflating that with the plane never arriving, as if to insinuate that the plane flew over the Mediterranean, dumped a bunch of shackled bodies in the water, who then washed up in Majorca in Spain. Majorca? Is that how you pronounce it? So we've got a couple of stories. One, they have been finding bodies shackled washing up on shore. But this looks more to be related to the sub-Saharan African human trafficking and human trade system that's been going on in Europe for some time. Apparently, the story is that these human smugglers and traffickers didn't want, there was some kind of risk related to the people they were smuggling. There was a dispute with them, so they dumped them in the ocean, of which there's been reports that 31 bodies have washed up. Hey, it's kind of like all of the things we've been talking about with coyotes and human traffickers is true. They kill people and they have nothing but disdain for human life. Well, because these leftists, these wackaloons, think Donald Trump is literally Hitler, they're claiming that Alligator Alcatraz is a concentration camp being set up. They're showing flight logs of various planes going over the ocean and returning and claiming those are the flights where Donald Trump is literally flying shackled people and dumping them in the ocean. Now, the funny thing is, none of it makes sense. It's clearly not true, but these videos are getting a lot of traction. And now there's posts on Reddit popping up where people are actually begging the leftists to stop spreading this psychotic psychobabble. Now, my friends, you may be laughing. You may be thinking, these people are insane. How could they actually believe this? Well, they believe a lot of ridiculous and insane things. And the issue I see with this is, you guys remember when a dude showed up to a pizza restaurant and fired a rifle into the ground for which there was no basement because he thought there was? There is a real threat that on the left that doesn't exist on the right. While certainly that guy who went to the pizza place, shot the ground, was out of his mind, we do not have the same degree of violence among the conservative base in this country that we see on the left. So when the left starts to be told and genuinely starts to believe, and these videos are popping up all over the place, that Donald Trump is mass executing illegal immigrants, they're going to believe it. They're going to get violent. And you know that when it comes to these Antifa protests, they're going to be standing out in the street saying, you do know that Donald Trump has been mass executing. And then they're going to pull up some post and be like, look, there it is. It's proof. With many of these people being older, more susceptible to believing this stuff, they are genuinely going to think Trump is mass executing illegal immigrants, which they will just call migrants. They're going to say he's literally Hitler. And in one instance, they're already making memes of Trump supporters being Nazis, being put on trial for gloating and advocating for people to be thrown out of planes. It's a narrative they want because it riles people up, terrifies them, and it will drive a crazy person crazier. But let's jump into this. Before we do, let me give a shout out to Steven Crowder and the Mug Club. Welcome to the Rumble Morning Lineup. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Tim Pool. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. I'm bringing you from the Rumble Morning Lineup into the afternoon. And before we get started, we got a great sponsor. It is Bear Skin. You can go to BAER.skin/Tim and pick up one of these snazzy little fleece hoodies. These are amazing. They're 3-in-1. There's an outer range shell that you can zip into it. And it's amazing. It's got hiking grade waterproof. 10K waterproof rating with a 2.5 layer design, tape seams, protective outer shell, plus Bear-Tex water repellent coating. So I actually have the outer shell just over to my left, and it's been raining nonstop in West Virginia. I throw that bad boy on, and I got a nice rain jacket. When I'm sitting inside the studio where we keep things it's around 60, 69, 70 degrees in here because of all the equipment. Sometimes it gets hot, and I like it cold, obviously. So I love wearing this thing. Not to mention, I think it looks really good. It's got 10 pockets, and it's my favorite. Shout out to Bearskin for they sent us a bunch of these. Everybody basically got one, and we're big fans. Thank you for sponsoring the show. If you text Tim to 36912, they'll send you a link. You'll get 60% off, and you can use it whenever. So maybe you're driving in the car right now. Maybe you're watching at some point where you're not at a computer. Just text Tim to 36912 and you will get that link. Check out Bearskin. We're big fans. Really do appreciate it, guys. And of course, go to dccomedyloft.com. Check the events. July 26th, August 2nd, and August 9th. 3 Culture War live podcast tapings. We have not finalized the July 26th lineup just yet, but August 2nd, Michael Malice, Angry Cops, 2 very, very funny gentlemen who are both friends of mine, are going to be debating the issue of police, which will probably be the funniest show we ever do because these guys are amazing. Alex Stein and I will be hosting, and we've got, I think it's going to be 200 seats. Timcast Discord members get free tickets. Sign up at timcast.com. They may be gone already, I'm not sure, but you can also just buy a ticket at dccomedyloft.com. Check it out. With that being said, let's get into the news. We've got this from, believe it or not the Bee. The newest left-wing conspiracy is that Trump is throwing migrants off planes into the ocean. For real. I just want to stress this because people bring it up all the time. They don't know what the word clickbait means. So let me explain it to you. I see in the chat as we're starting a live show, someone asks if it's clickbait and someone says yes. This is not clickbait. Clickbait is when you intentionally omit information from a headline, making it so that someone has to click the link to figure out what you're talking about. An example of clickbait would be a headline that says something like, this celebrity just got arrested for drugs, you'll never guess who. And then you're like, well, who is it? And so you click it. You were baited into it. That's what clickbait is. Not really that prominent anymore. Then there's rage bait. Rage bait is when you intentionally make a headline that will piss someone off, so they click it to see more. Call it whatever you want. But when the story and the posts are literally people saying Trump is mass executing migrants by throwing them out of planes, that's neither click nor rage bait. I'm literally telling you a thing that people are claiming. That's just it. And I suppose the issue is when not the Bee is covering the story, reality has become so insane, people assume the headlines must be not correct. But every single headline I make, we debate these things. We sit here and say, like, does that word fit or make sense? We actually changed the headline yesterday because it was reported the Trump admin was mass arresting people over this fraud. But upon reading the Reuters source, it says many have been arrested, but 324 were charged. So we corrected the headline and changed it to charged instead of arrested. And people are like, it's clickbait. No, calm down. Reality is just breaking down, I guess. But here's the post from Not the Bee. Blue Anon is not doing well this week. You've got this Rin the Witch. I'll play this in a second. Trump derangement syndrome level 1000. Now he's posting these laughing emojis. I don't think it's funny. I got to be honest. I mean, it is funny. Don't get me wrong. It's a ridiculous thing to believe. But what's disconcerting here is these people are going to go insane. They're already going insane. They will be violent. Listen. We've talked about this with Abrego Garcia. The media lies, and all of these people believe that Kilmar Abrego Garcia is just some dude from Maryland who got roped up in the deportations. And I said it before, and I will say it again. Hassan Piker, one of the most prominent live streamers in the country, biggest on the left, genuinely did not know that Abrego Garcia was from El Salvador and thought he was from Maryland, to the point when he was criticizing me over it, he said, who do you mean he's not from Maryland? He's from D.C.? Like, what are you trying to say? And I'm like, bro, he's from El Salvador. But they didn't know this because the media was lying. Now, I said this. If I really believed that Trump sent an American citizen, innocent of any wrongdoing, to CCOT, I would be also demanding his return. But then you find out he's an alleged human trafficker who was a member of MS-13, adjudicated by 2 different judges, who was deported to his home country. And you're like, well, okay, I guess, I don't know. What El Salvador does with their people is up to them. But we saw the fervent reaction from the left. Now what happens when they start putting out these videos claiming that Trump is murdering these people? And they believe it. Don't take my word for it. Let's roll tape.
The deportees out of the planes and into the ocean. No, this is not a drill. No, this is not fear-mongering. They're shackling people, flying out into open ocean and throwing them out. Okay? The flight patterns, there's people tracking them on this app. The flights going out with the deportees, watching them go out to open ocean and circle back. A family in Italy saw 5 shackled bodies wash up on the shore.
Yes. I got that story. We'll fact check it.
Seriously? On everything that you stand for, whether it's bullshit, consumerist propaganda, or actual leftist good values, or whatever the fuck it is you believe in.
Leftist good values.
Things are getting serious. I know I'm a small creator and the likelihood that I am shadow banned is very small, but I'm telling you, I'm fairly certain I am shadow banned because I talk about this stuff. If you look at my like to view ratios, they're great. I have several viral videos.
Now she's complaining she can't get views
why I'm doing
because she's
so
nuts.
badly. No, my shit's not boring. No, I'm not boring. No, I'm not funny or
no, you're nuts.
Not okay to look at or whatever the fucking issue is that would cause me to not be getting the likes and follows and views that I should be getting based off of the ratios of the videos that I do put out. I'll keep talking about this stuff. I'll keep making videos.
Blah, 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 blah. We get the point, lady. She's like, why aren't more people watching my videos? I'm saying insane things. That's the derangement we see with so many of these people. But wait, there's more. We got this guy. I'm not going to play his whole video. Gen Explorer. Stories. Here you go.
I want to be very clear that I have no reason to directly connect these two stories. These are two unrelated stories. The reason I'm sharing this, however, is because we are living in a time when we cannot afford to be naive.
Okay. So first, the first story he shows says, holiday horror as 5 bodies with shackled hands and feet wash up on beach at tourist hotspot. The other story he shared said, let me get the exact, it says migrants put in shackles for Trump deportation flights.
To be naive. We are living in a time when we need to pay attention, and changes have been made to our government cause it to not be doing its job. Firing of inspectors general, purging the highest ranks of our military officers.
I just want to pause real quick. This guy's video, where the obvious insinuation right off the bat is that Trump shackles these migrants and then dead bodies with shackles wash up on shore. Totally unrelated on other sides of the planet, mind you. This guy's got 206,000 likes, nearly 7,000 comments, 35,000 bookmarks, 65,000 shares. I don't know if they have the total view count listed on here, but this is from a few days ago. Let's play a little bit more.
Preventing members of Congress from performing their oversight duties. So what you have here is you have one story that migrants in the United States have been routinely shackled at the waist, wrists, ankles, and loaded onto cargo planes. Not just cargo planes, but cargo planes with the rear doors that can open mid-flight. Completely separate story. 5 corpses with their hands and feet bound have been found floating in the sea off the coast of Majorca. And since January, 31 bodies have been recovered there. Again, no reason to have these two stories directly connected.
So there's literally no reason for you to make this video, which is obviously insinuating the Trump administration has been shackling migrants and dumping them in the ocean. But wait, we got it all. Oh, hey, we got another video on TikTok.
An update on the floating bodies that were found over in Spain. I know I did another video on some recent ones that were found. That video will come back once we win the appeal, which we will. We have submitted all the facts on that. So I don't want to talk on that because this video needs to be for this. We're going to stop ICE. This will stop ICE. And I'm counting on your districts. So prosecutors and federal judges in districts that are opposed to this.
Okay, blah, blah, blah. He says, we found the bodies. We got them. 31 bodies were found. And we're going to stop ICE. We get the insinuation. Here you go. Here's another video. Let's play a little bit. I don't want to waste too much time playing all of these incoherent ramblings. But these posts have thousands of retweets, millions of views.
This is insane. And if it's true, then it could change everything. I knew there was something about these deportations that just didn't sit right with me. And then I found this story about a man in Colorado. His name is Alvin, and it looks like he's been trying to get this story out for the past 2 weeks now. Long story short, Alvin expresses his worry that his brother that was taken by ICE and in quotations deported is no longer alive because Alvin is friends with people that work for private contractors, okay? One of which seems to have a pretty high up rank in the military. Alvin stated that his friend claimed that they were being paid to drop off people in the middle of the ocean. I say people because they are humans as well, regardless of how you want to feel about them being here illegally in quotations.
Okay, so somebody in the chat just said, let me grab this one if I can, and see if it's gonna let me. If this is true, Tim from Sleeping Giant, will you be making a public apology? My friends, if it turns out that the Trump administration has been engaged in mass executions, not only will I apologize, I will speak out against the administration, call for his impeachment and criminal charges, and I assure you, as will literally everybody else in Congress and the Senate. And there's not going to be any reality where a single member of Congress or the Senate defends Donald Trump if it is true that he is rounding people up and dumping them in the ocean in unsanctioned mass extrajudicial executions. Let me just make that perfectly clear.
Anyways, Alvin's trying to get the word out about what types of planes that these military private contractors have been using. Well, turns out that they're primarily cargo planes, the same cargo planes of which many of you might know open up at the back. And they don't really have any seats, and the seats of which they do have are extremely comfortable, I can tell you from my own personal experiences. But see, this is where Alvin's story gets extremely disturbing, because he stated that most of the planes that, let's just say, have been transporting are disappearing off of radar, and that his friend stated that that is when they do the in quotations drop. He also stated that these specific locations of where these drops are taking place are usual feeding grounds for sharks. So just try to imagine that for 1 second. Now, I don't know how much there is to this story, as he...
Okay, they've just upgraded this to Donald Trump is mass executing illegal immigrants to from dropping them out of planes to dropping them out of planes over shark-infested waters. This timeline is insane. Listen, these people are going to go nuts. There's going to be weird violence because they genuinely believe this.
He seems to obviously be in panic mode, but also on the run. And I want to know if somebody can track those specific planes and find out if and when
they're all insane. Here we go. We got a lady.
Research the dirty war. Argentina.
Okay, so some guy on TikTok says, research the dirty war Argentina before playing this clip, which for those that are not familiar, it's when a bunch of anti-communist government force in Argentina were killing a bunch of communists. But let's play this clip. If it's going to play now, the computer's on the fritz again.
I tracked the deportation flights and I called that they were going to be something terrible on a mass scale before it started happening using flight radar back on my first account. And now with this is setting off every fucking red flag in my body. I 1000% think that they are shackling these people and dumping them in the ocean with maritime laws and stuff like that. This administration is more than vile enough. ICE and all of that does not give a shit about human rights. And if you think that you're safe because you look like me, you're wrong. They're trying to end birthright citizenship.
Research the dirty war.
All right, so what I want to show here as I pause this is that you can see on the left, you've got a flight, which it's amazing because these planes, one of the planes they show looks like a small turboprop, and the one on the right looks like it might be a private jet, and they go out over the ocean and loop back. It's you literally, and this is Costa Rica, by the way. They have found random flights in random places and are now trying to insinuate this is proof. Okay, well, there's more, of course. We've got this one. Let me see if I can zoom out a little, make it easier to see. ICE plane leaves for Sudan. Sudan says ICE plane never arrives. ICE plane arrives back empty. Shackled bodies wash up on the beach of Majorca, downstream of a U.S. regime airbase. Oh, man. What a time to be alive. Here's the image. Spanish and American Air Force Base. There's Majorca. Here's Sudan. Mind you, not South Sudan, because they don't really know the difference. These people are nuts. And the insinuation is they flew over Libya and Algeria into the Mediterranean, dumped the bodies just outside of Spain, where they washed up on Majorca. This is where we're currently at in this country, my friends. Man, and there's more. Here's a meme post. It's got 528,000 views, 6.3 thousand retweets. Remember that plane of people that ICE sent to South Sudan against court orders, only for South Sudan to report those people never arrived? Well, what they're doing here, my friends, is they're falsely conflating several stories they've twisted and broken and are absolutely wrong about. So we have this from ABC7. Judge says U.S. government didn't follow court order on deportations after South Sudan flight. The White House violated a court order on deportations to third countries with a flight linked to the chaotic African nation of South Sudan. A federal judge said Wednesday hours of the Trump administration said it expelled 8 immigrants convicted of violent crimes, but refused to reveal where they would end up. The judge's statement was a notably strong rebuke to the government's deportation efforts. In an emergency hearing, he called to address the reports that immigrants had been sent to South Sudan. The department's actions in this case have unquestionably been in violation of the country's court order, blah, blah, blah. The government calls the deported people true national security threats. So, hold on. What's going on? So Trump actually did get a plane and deport people to South Sudan. But wait, that meme said South Sudan said they never arrived. Oh my God. If Trump flew the plane in May in violation of a court order, and then South Sudan said the plane never arrived, then the only answer is they threw them out of the plane, right? Or they're just lying. Here's from Truth Out, a left-wing publication. It says ICE strands migrants in Djibouti after failing to send them to South Sudan. Oh, so what happened? Trump transported people to Djibouti for holding, which we know and we covered on Timcast IRL last week. Or I think even earlier, I think it was last week, the South Sudan story, Trump won in the courts. And then they didn't fly them from Djibouti to South Sudan because of the court order. It went to court, this was back in May, and the Supreme Court ruled that they can deport to third-party countries, opening the door for the stranded migrants in Djibouti to be sent to South Sudan. Now, I don't know exactly why those people are in Djibouti or why they're going to South Sudan. And certainly if your argument was we shouldn't be sending to South Sudan, I'd say let's have the argument and figure out what's going on. But the argument they're making is they're taking these two stories listen, technically, what they said was technically the truth, right? Trump violated a court order flying migrants South Sudan, and then South Sudan said the plane never arrived. Conveniently, they're leaving out the middle, which is the plane arrived in Djibouti, the migrants were put into holding, and then because of the court order, they stayed there until recently, and they were then flown to South Sudan. Or perhaps they have not yet been flown to South Sudan. We have this from Reddit, from the r/ICE raids. There's an anti-ICE Reddit forum, and it says deemed fake video dropping immigrants into the ocean 3 days ago. There is no reason to believe anything here is real. Do not spread false info. I just saw a video of someone talking about what the title says. Mods deemed it fake. Do not believe anything on the video until proven. I have no evidence, but I got curious. I am not going to link it. It's just a guy talking. I want to see what planes came and gone from Alligator Alcatraz. Here's the only plane to leave the airport. It's a 2-engine, 11-seat aircraft. As far as I'm concerned, there is no reason to believe the aircraft has anything to do with Alligator Alcatraz. It was the only plane, so I just looked at it. I have no information. Maybe someone else can look into it, blah, blah, blah. So let me break this down for you, my friends. They are taking images and flight logs from random planes, like one in Costa Rica, and then claiming that is the flight. Only problem is that plane flew over the Pacific, not the Atlantic. And the argument they're making is that the bodies in the Atlantic are washing up in Spain. They're not. Bodies did wash up in Spain. We do have that story from LBC. Spanish police reveal they may never identify 5 shackled bodies washed up on the beach as 4 arrests are made. The story is, this month, 5 corpses with their hands and feet shackled were found floating in the sea, sparking a police investigation. They are pursuing murder as a line of inquiry and believe the bodies belonged to migrants who were killed after an altercation with their handlers. 4 boat skippers linked to people smuggling rings have since been arrested. All 4 individuals appeared in a Spanish court and have been remanded in custody with the exception of a minor. The minor's case is currently being handled by the prosecutor's office for minors, according to Mallorca Daily Bulletin. However, the civil guard's investigation is proving near impossible due to the abuse suffered by the migrants traveling the dangerous route from Algeria to Spain by boat. Their lack of documentation is also impeding identification. The president of the, Balearics, Marga Prohens, said the government is very concerned and shocked by the discovery of bodies. This is the cruelest aspect of something we have been denouncing for some time. The images in the news chill us all. Mafias take advantage of these humanitarian dramas, Ms. Proen said. I remember several years ago, Lauren Southern was calling out the Mediterranean human trafficking rings. These people are being killed. I, as well as many others, have warned that people smugglers routinely rape and murder the people that are paying for this. Now that there is more evidence that it's happening, people are being prosecuted and were already arrested for this, the left can't help but blame Trump and falsely claim with no real evidence that he's taking illegal immigrants and dumping their bodies in the ocean. Now, I want to stress this, okay? The important thing people need to understand when they're like, what is this all about? This guy right here, 200,000 likes. I can only imagine this video has millions of views where he says, we can't be naive.
But we cannot be so naive as to think that things don't happen. I very much would like to know how it is that people are ending up floating up on beaches in the Mediterranean, shackled. This article here suggests that they're believed to be migrants who are attempting to travel the dangerous route from Algeria to Spain by what migrants travel in shackles? That's something I very much do not understand. What do you mean that they're believed to be migrants who are attempting to travel the dangerous route from Algeria to Spain by boat?
So let me just add that because this man doesn't know anything about what he's talking about or how coyotes and human smugglers operate, he's like, why would they be shackled? Because they didn't pay, they refused to pay, or maybe the traffickers were trying to rape and abuse some women. Maybe these guys were probably just men. Maybe they were getting shaken down. One of the stories we hear quite a bit is that the people who are being trafficked will have like a small, cheap cell phone. Maybe the guy says, get rid of the phone. They fought. Maybe the guy insulted the guy's appearance. These are not good people. And the end result may have just been that they got shackled.
So this is one story. This is another. The other part of not being naive that I want to pay attention to. So you have to ask yourself, and I know there are a bunch of people out there who are ready to jump in and say, oh, no, it's more efficient to transport people by cargo planes. No, it's not. No, it's more economical and more efficient to use passenger planes for people, for passengers. You can get more people on the planes. They are more cost effective. Cargo planes are not cost effective. So forget about that argument. So then why do you do it? Well, maybe they're doing it to create fear, to create a sense of terror. All right. Another concern is maybe they're doing it to condition, both to condition people who get loaded onto planes to think this is normal, this is just how we do it, don't worry about this, and to condition those of us who are watching.
Well, what I can say is there is certainly no shortage of insane people, nor is there a shortage of annoying flies that won't leave me alone. But my friends, we're going to wrap up this portion of the show. Certainly it's not true, and I've made my case, but people are crazy, so my concern is things may escalate. We're going to be joined in the interview portion of the show by poker professional Doug Polk to talk about the big, beautiful bill provision on gambling. My view is that this is a poison pill intentionally put in place to force the House to stop Trump's agenda. And we're going to be joined by a poker pro who's going to talk about why it's detrimental to the industry, to the gaming industry, daily fantasy sports, Vegas itself. And that'll be at 4 p.m. at rumble.com/TimPool or youtube.com/Timcast. So smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all then.